everybody, Joe Waldin here. This video I'm going to show you how I set up my HyperV servers and quickly make another server, stand up another server. Before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody understands that I have two hosts here, and each host is a standalone host. There's no migrations of the servers between each other. There's no sharing of memory. There's no sharing of processors or anything like that. These are two separate VMs or hosts that host VMs on the same network. So in a production environment, you're going to have a different setup that's going to allow the machines to migrate amongst other hosts and share memory and share all the resources and everything like that. But this is just a dandy setup for me and my home setup, my home enclave, and it allows me to do all kinds of testing, all kinds of experiments, and very informative way to learn and test your applications and things like that. So keep that in mind. This is not a production environment. There's no SAN, storage space, and things like that. This is completely different. But this is how I do it, and I wanted to just share it with you. I open up my HyperV manager, and let's jump to host 02. And before I do this, let me show you how I lay out my folders and everything. What I've got here is I've got 4 drives on this host. I've got my C drive, I've got my D drive, which is strictly virtual machines, and on the E drive is all of the virtual hard disks, and then here's for backup is my F drive. And if I open up, let's say I open up my VMs here, the virtual machines, you notice each one has their own folder, and it's named exactly the same as the machine name. So I know I can come back in here and I can say, oh yeah, I'm no longer using the SharePoint server here, so I can delete it, and I will delete everything that's associated with it on the virtual machine side. I don't have to worry about any extraneous files or anything else that are associated with it. It keeps the server very clean, keeps your files in order, and that kind of stuff. So that's how I set up the virtual machine side. And let's jump over here to the virtual hard drives, and I do the same thing here, except that I have one thing a little different, is that I have a template here, and this is an R2 template, 2012 server R2, and I have another folder here called spare hard drives. Okay, and what I do is when I need a hard drive, let's say when I need to stand up a server, a 2012 server here for example, I'll come into this folder here and I will copy this template just the way it is, and let's say I want to create a new server here, so in this folder here I'll just paste it, and let's let that complete. Okay, now that that's finished, I'm going to go ahead and just rename this the same name as the virtual machine. Okay, and then I'm going to need a D drive in here, so let me go back in here, spare hard drives, and I think I'm just going to need a 40 gig. So I'll copy this over to my folder here. And I'm just going to call this the server name again. Okay. I could have named this drive C if I wanted to, but I don't. Just keep it the same name. Alright, so now we've got 2 drives in there, and I know this one is only a 40 gig drive, and so let's go ahead and fire this up and get our machines going. So I want to come in here and I want to create a new machine, new virtual machine. Click Next, and this is going to be called Server 2012-1, and I want to store the machine in a different location. I'm going to store it in drive D, but I want to make sure I have a folder for it, because the virtual machine, yeah, there it is right there. See, nothing's in there right now, but that's where I want to store it. So let's browse to it. That's the folder. Select it and say Next, and I want it to be Generation 2. You can you choose Generation 1 if you have some older versions of Hyper-V and you need to have the virtual machine work in both of those environments, the older with the new. But I go, since everything here is new, I'm going to go with Generation 2. Okay, let's give it a minimum of 2 gigs of memory. And whoops, typo there. And I don't want to use dynamic memory. I'm not going to connect it to the network yet. And what it's going to say here is that, hey, do you want to create a virtual hard disk? Well, no, I don't, because since I've already copied over the server template, I'm going to say I want to use an existing hard disk, and I want to the hard disk is going to be this disk right here. This is going to be my virtual disk. Okay, and that's all. Look at how easy that is. I didn't have to do any configuration or anything. Okay, now I click Finish. Bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. I'm done. I'm going to, while the server's off, I'm going to come here and go to Settings, and I'm going to go to SCSI Controller. I'm going to add a new hard drive, and guess what? It's the one that's already existing. It's my D drive right there, and I click Apply. Now that virtual machine has 2 drives. Let's start it up. And what I like is I just have to double click it. That's something different than the VMware. And also I just have the Control Alt Delete button right there. How easy is that? So I'm going to log in right now. Okay, now that our server's up, the first thing we're going to do, the very first thing, is we're going to open up our Windows folder, and we are going to scroll down to System 32, and then scroll down to SysPrep right here. And what I want to do is run this as administrator, and we're going to generalize, and we do want the out-of-box experience. We want everything. What this does is it resets the machine serial number and the GUID and all of that stuff that's specific to this machine gets totally reset, just as if you went ahead and installed a brand new OS. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we'll let that finish. Okay, now it's restarting. The SysPrep is completed. Okay, now that the server is back up, you'll see that it's just like as if we had just done an OS install. It's going to require us to set our country, region, application language, and keyboard layout settings. And just click Next. Then I've got to enter the product key here. And of course I accept all of this stuff here. I'm going to enter my administrator password. Click Finish. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. Okay, so now when this comes up at this point here, we're going to click Control Alt Delete, enter our administrator password. Remember, we're still not connected to the network yet. That's not been enabled. And you'll notice when Server Manager pops up here, there's going to be a few items in there that have actually reverted back to their original setting, which is okay. We're going to make some changes. Okay, so now that the Server Manager is up, I'd like to just go select local server. Okay, and here's the things that are different here. Of course, Ethernet is not connected. The network is down. It kept our remote desktop settings. It changed our computer name and put us in a work group. It has updates have never been installed, which we know they have been because the template's been upgraded every patch month, you know. And then down here, the product ID is the product isn't even activated. Okay, so we can't activate it until we're online. So here's what we're going to do first. We're going to rename it and add it to the domain. So remember, this server name is VM SVR 2012-1, and the domain, using my planets configuration for naming the servers and stuff after planets, is star. Okay, so to double check my spelling here, looks good. Server 2012-1. Click OK. Oh, I goofed. I'm sorry. I can't do that because I'm not connected to the network. So what we'll do here is we'll leave it in the work group. We're going to change the computer name, and the reason we're going to do that is because when we do connect to the domain, or actually when we do connect to the network, we're going to have DHCP give us our IP addresses and set all that stuff up. So let's reboot. Okay, now that we're rebooted, I'm going to jump to my HyperV Manager. I'm going to right-click my server, click Settings, and I want to now enable my network. Okay, because now the computer name is correct, and the network's going to push out an IP address. So if I come here and log in, we'll wait for Server Manager to come back up again. See, our network's up. We want to click Yes. Okay, now that our Server Manager is up, let's go ahead and click on Local Server. Okay, the next thing we want to do is go into our network card, and I always disable IPv6 and double click on IPv4, and we're going to assign this a static IP address of 10.10.10.214, I think 213. So anyways, so let's click OK. Now we've got our IP addresses statically hard-coded in there. We can close all this stuff out. Now we can go ahead into our work group here, change it, and we want to add it to the domain. Let's authorize it to be added. Okay, it's going to ask us to reboot again. Okay, now that we've rebooted, we are now on the domain, and I'm going to log on as me. Okay, and one of the things I do, I think Server Manager is going to try to pop up again, but while that's loading, I'm going to jump over here to another folder here, and I have a tool here called Back Info, and what this does is, notice the server wallpaper here is it doesn't really help me know what server I'm on. So if I run this tool here, and believe me, I got this so long ago that I don't know who wrote it, who put it together, or anything. This is really an automated thing. You'll see when I just run this as administrator, it's going to plug in a couple of little things into the registry, and now whenever anybody logs into the computer, it's going to have the server name and IP address and that kind of stuff. So it's a very nice tool. Keeps me from accidentally making changes on the wrong server, which I have done. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is we need to look at the D drive because it's not here. See, we need to add it to the server. So I'll show you how we do that. What I like to do here in the Server Manager, I go to Server Manager Properties and I turn off this automatic login, and that's it. Close it. Now it doesn't come up and tie me up. So we're going to go into Start and Computer Management. We're going to go down here to Disk Management, and you notice here's our disk here. It's offline, so we need to bring it online. One thing I realized I didn't do here is when I saved this folder here, I shouldn't have named it. I mean, I shouldn't have named the drive. So I'm just going to say just rename it 40 gig. So there. So now I've got an empty drive here, 40 gig. I got my local disk. See, everything is golden. I can go ahead now and do a snapshot, and with the snapshot now I can make all these changes and test what I want to, and then revert back to this original server configuration. So that's it. That's all you have to do. The whole process here took about I would say maybe 30 minutes with the copying of the files and the multiple restarts and stuff like that. But that's all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.